Joining us right now on the BetQL guest hotline, longtime friend of the show, Brady Quinn, former Notre Dame quarterback, former NFL quarterback. He's now a Fox College football analyst, and he's also on CBS Sports HQ. He's all over the place. It's Brady Quinn. What's up, Brady? Good morning.
Not much, guys. Good morning, Junkies. How we doing?
Hey, buddy.
You sound like you're on a
bird sanctuary again.
Yeah, you sound like you're on a golf course.
No, I'm actually outside. Just walked my two older girls to school, so we're just walking back from dropping them off at school.
Hey, where do you make your home? What city?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Beautiful.
I can't
So
wait
nice.
I can't wait to move there.
I got to be honest. It's getting a little steamy down here, though.
Oh, it
getting a
is?
little hot
Already?
Yeah. I hate to tell you guys, it's really sunny and it's getting a little bit too hot.
Well, there's 100% lock. You have a pool.
Let's do like a Zillow 30 seconds here with Brady Quinn. Are you waterfront? Are you like lakefront? Like what's your setup?
Yeah, so I'm I guess considered waterfront. We're down in Fort Lauderdale. There's a lot of canals, and so you get a lot of inlets and whatnot. So I happen to be off one of those canals.
Ooh.
So I guess technically you could consider it waterfront, but probably not what most people imagine.
Now,
What
do you
about
have a boat?
gator scares? Are there gator scares daily in Florida?
No,
there aren't.
Zero gator scares.
Well, doesn't live in the Everglades.
Zero gator scares.
Yeah, but he lives in Florida.
well,
I think gators are walking across like crosswalks all over the place in Florida. They're everywhere.
No. I got to be honest with you. I played a number of different golf courses. I've only seen a couple of gators.
Really?
We tend to not see many, at least in South Florida, where we're out on the east side. But I mean, that's all you're concerned. If you get into the canal, I mean, if a bull shark's on its way back there, that would be more of a concern. Those things are pretty aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
Now, do you have a boat, Brady? Are you a boat guy? I mean, if you live on a canal, you got to have a boat.
Yeah, I had a boat when we moved, because we moved in the past 5 months.
Yeah.
I actually sold it, and here's the crazy thing. Because of COVID, all the manufacturing has gone down, and so the price of used boats has skyrocketed. I actually sold the thing for more than I paid for it, and so now I'm too cheap to want to buy another one right now because the market's so hot. So I'm waiting until things calm down a little bit and we get back to more of a sense of normalcy.
Yeah, look at you. He's prudent, Case. See?
Smart.
Yeah,
of course.
Well, guys,
Smart
he went to Notre Dame. Smart dude.
Yeah.
Hey, Brady, I want to ask you about these pro days. I think Jason does too.
Yeah.
So Mac Jones and Justin Fields had their pro days yesterday. We're watching all of these quarterbacks with their pro days. Zach Wilson. I want to go back to your pro day. Several things. So first of all, what are you looking for as an evaluator? And then as a player, what were the things that you tried to highlight?
Yeah, I think it's changed and evolved a little bit since then, but I would just say this. As of now, what I'm really looking for is just how the ball comes out of his hand. I want to see, his footwork. I want to see how he moves. And that's primarily it. I mean, if you really want to get down to particulars, if you're there, one of the things you want to look at is any throw outside the numbers. I would personally go stand. I don't care if it's an out route at 10 to 12 yards or a comeback at 18 to 20 yards, depending on the system, how deep you run them. I want to watch how the ball meets the receiver on the sidelines. Is it dying? Is it driving through him to to the sidelines? That kind of shows a little bit of the zip and velocity on the ball. So as an evaluator, that's more of the things that I'd be looking at. And then, as a player, really you're just trying to showcase that you can throw an assortment of throws that you'll need to do at the NFL level, especially if you didn't do it in your college system. And then anything that you feel like, maybe a misnomer or – I mean, that's the thing that's changed is now you get these guys running around like it's backyard football and heaving balls downfield, which is cool. And you might have to do it some point in time, but that's like a once-a-season type throw. And that's the funny thing is doing it in a T-shirt and shorts without a defense, it's laughable. But again, like they're like, oh, no, I can do this. Like, well, yeah, anyone can do this if you're in a T-shirt and shorts and you don't have a pass rush. That was the funny thing that came out of the Zach Wilson pro day was he makes this, kind of, awkward throw where he's, running to his left, throws downfield, not even squaring himself up. And then someone had, put out Sam Darnold basically doing the exact same thing, avoiding the rush, scrambling to his left, throwing a touchdown pass, I believe it was to Robbie Anderson a couple years ago. But that's the funny thing is Sam Darnold showcased he can do it at the NFL level, yet the Jets are probably going to move on for Zach Wilson, who, he can do it in a T-shirt and shorts, but not necessarily in a game so far.
Hey, Brady, I refuse to believe that the Niners are going to part with all that draft capital to move up to 3 to bypass guys like Trey Lance and Fields to pick Mac Jones out of Alabama? I'm sorry. I just refuse to believe that that's going to happen. What is the likelihood that Jones goes 3, or do you think that's a bunch of smoke at this point?
No, I don't know that it's smoke. I mean, clearly they moved up to take a quarterback. I kind of find the more interesting thing being that, you're not getting Trevor Lawrence. The Jags are taking him.
Right.
If we're going to buy into everything the Jets are saying right now, and then they're taking Zach Wilson, or they're in love with Zach Wilson, okay, so he's got it too. So you gave up all that draft capital to get maybe what some teams view as the third best quarterback in this year's draft class? Like, it's a little bit of a head scratcher. And look, maybe they think Justin Fields or Mac Jones is better, but the reality is that no one's better than Trevor Lawrence. So you basically gave all that up for the second best quarterback in this class. Now, could they think that's Mac Jones? I'll put it this way. Whose film's better than him this past year? He played phenomenal. And by the way, spare me the whole, well, look how much talent he had out around him. Joe Burrow had the same damn thing, and he was drafted number 1 overall. And by the way, Zach Wilson, they played a group of 5 schedule. You think the guys he wasn't throwing to weren't wide open or distinctly better than the players they're going up against? I mean, look at the pockets he threw from. So I tend to think, yeah, it could be Mac Jones. He's accurate. He's tough. He throws with anticipation. He moves really well in the pocket. He showcased the fact that he's probably a little more athletic than anyone wants to give him credit, just because he's, doesn't have the biggest Adonis effect on you when the kid takes his shirt off. But he's a baller. He really is. And I think there's a good chance that could be maybe who they're targeting.
You mentioned something about that with the body. And, when you came out, I mean, you're a dreamboat, Brady, let's be honest. You had the posters and the abs and everything. You look at Mac, and he looks like cakes. What do we?
He did thin out. He looked
okay, a little bit. How? And listen, Peyton Manning doesn't have a great body. Eli doesn't have a great body.
Tom Brady,
I'm not saying you need it, but I'm just saying, does it mean anything? Does it mean dedication to fitness? Like, what does it mean?
It means genetics. I mean, I was blessed with 2 parents. A dad who's a former Marine and was ripped up, and my mom's a stud. She came from a small town in Ohio and was on the men's track team in high school. So it's like, I mean, wow. It's genetics and probably some work ethic, but that's the biggest thing. I mean, I've seen plenty of guys who work out as hard as you can work in the weight room or training, and they look like they eat McDonald's every day. And I've seen other guys who actually eat McDonald's every day, never work out, and they look like they should be on the cover of a magazine. So it's genetics, some hard work. I personally don't think it matters at all for quarterbacks. As long as they have the flexibility and mobility, it really is irrelevant.
So getting back to the 49ers in 3, so Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they obviously went to see these guys. They went to see Fields. They went to see Jones. They basically said in their press conferences, yeah, I mean, Jimmy G's a nice guy, but we got to move on. We just can't trust that he's going to stay healthy. And that may or may not be true, but since 2017, Brady, Jimmy G, his winning percentage is 5th, all right? His completion percentage is 5th. His yards per attempt is 2nd, and his passer rating's 11th, okay? So he's not a hack. And what kind of situation is that going to be when they're drafting a quarterback at 3? He's going to be there. Jimmy G knows he's not the future. Can they keep Jimmy G around on that roster, or do they have to get rid of him to just kind of avoid all the awkwardness? And Jimmy G's going to be pissed. How's that going to work?
Yeah, I don't think it's out of awkwardness. I think if they take like a Justin Fields or Trey Lance,
yeah,
I think they can keep him for a year. And awkwardness, whatever you want to say. Here's the reality for Jimmy G: if they draft a quarterback at 3, which they will, the writing's on the wall. It's only a matter of time whether this year or next year. So he's going to be highly motivated because he realizes that he's got to go in and play. And if there's going to be any trade value for him because he's got 2 years left on his deal, he's got to figure out a way to play his best football and stay healthy. And that's where a market's created for him. Someone trades for him, and then he either plays out that final year or maybe they agree to an extension once there's a trade. But that's the reality of the situation he's in. He's got to play his best football this year if he's still on that roster. He doesn't have another choice. So he can be upset about it. It can be awkward.
Yeah.
And trust me, I've been in some awkward quarterback rooms, all right? But it doesn't matter. You have to be a pro. You have to be professional. You've got to do your best to do your job. You don't have to mentor the kid. No one's asking you to do that. And they've got to learn from watching the veteran guy do it. But the reality is he can't afford not to play his best. But I think if they take a guy like Mac Jones, that kid you can plug him and play right away. I would think, look, the greatest value for for the San Francisco 49ers in a trade of Jimmy Garoppolo is two things. It's either before the draft, before they select a quarterback at 3, even though everyone knows they're going to. That's the first point. And then to me, it would be after the season. He plays extremely well, takes them to the playoffs, they make a run, and then they move on from him after that, hand the keys over to their draft pick, and then at that point, you'd have good trade value for him. So that's the problem is, as you said, statistically, when he's playing, he's been really good.
Right.
It's just he hasn't been durable enough.
I mean, just think about if he stayed healthy for 17 games this year, and he played well. They went. Let's just say they go to the NFC Championship. So in the 2 full years that he's been healthy, he goes to a Super Bowl and an NFC Championship, and they're going to move on from him. Man, that's ballsy. It just is.
No, it is, but that's Kyle Shanahan, right? I mean, he's willing to throw on 4th and 1 in a Super Bowl when you're up 28-3, and the rest is kind of history. So
yeah. Well, same thing with the Jets. Do you think they move on from Darnold pre-draft because they're obviously taking Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, my intuition is this. I think it's tough for any team now that, for example, there are economics that play a factor in this. Darnold is going into his 4th year. They already picked up the 5th-year option. And so really, if they keep Darnold for another year, they're going to have to extend him. I mean, they could go the route of playing on the 5th-year option, then franchise tag, but that can get really expensive. So I think when you're drafting number 2, you have the opportunity to get a player that you might love and you could build with for the next 5 years. It probably makes more sense for a general manager who didn't draft Sam Darnold and a new head coach who just got there. It probably makes more sense for them to make that move. And honestly, I hope it works out for both parties because I still think Sam Darnold's a good quarterback. I think he's been in one of the worst situations there's been. I mean, that team has no talent out around him.
Right.
And if they did, Robbie Anderson, they let him, go in free agency. So it's been unfortunate to see what he's had to deal with. So I hope he gets a fresh start somewhere else.
Do you like the 17 games?
No, because and this has to do more with off the field issues. I mean,
right.
The owners get whatever they want, man. I mean, that's how they treat the NFL players. They treat us like kids because we can't negotiate. I just walked my 4-year-old and 2.5-year-old daughter to school. I mean, I absolutely whoop them anytime they want to stay up a little bit later. I just play some sort of Jedi mind trick, and next thing you know, they're asleep. And so they don't get, a bowl of cereal or candy, whatever, to stay up longer. And that's kind of how the NFL is with the NFLPA. They got us to sign a CBA early. They got the opportunity to put in 17 games in there, and then they go to the TV networks and they get $300 million per year richer per each owner.
Yeah.
And what do the players get out of it? I mean, honestly, what do the players get out of it?
They get more injuries.
So, more injuries, probably. They didn't get expanded rosters. They didn't get anything. I mean, virtual off seasons? Great. That's a big win. That's the problem is there's not enough of a priority on things like lifetime health care for vested veterans. That'd be something that'd be great. We have a bunch of older generations of players who could use the free health care. And yes, there's resources, but I'll just tell you from being, a vested veteran going through it now, it's not always the easiest thing to be able to tap into. And so they could focus on one particular thing like that, and it would help a lot of former players and current players eventually down the road. But it's just not a priority. They'd rather reduce the penalties on guys who get popped for weed or other things like that. And it's sad because the owners always dominate them every CBA that comes up.
Well, Brady, we know you're helping vets. People should go to @3NG Foundation on Twitter. Why don't you talk about it quickly for the listeners? Let them know what you're doing.
Yeah, so as always, we've had 3 real main operations. There's Operation Home, where we make remodels for veterans who are on need to make their homes handicap accessible for them. Operation Education, where we have educational platforms that help them either start, finish, or continue their education. And Operation Joy, which in particular around the holidays is a big thing for us, helping out military families who are in need. So to find out all the information, you can go to 3ng.com, or you can find out more information on Twitter or any of our other platforms.
That's Brady Quinn. We love him, former Notre Damer and NFL quarterback. Keep looking for those Gators, man. I'm telling you, they're there somewhere. They're lurking somewhere beneath the surface.
I'll make sure to go out on an airboat out in the Everglades and try to find
please
them for you.
Please do. That's
Thank you, Brady.
Hey,
Thanks,
good stuff,
buddy.
bro.
Thanks, guys.